It's spooky season, and I've been a very busy boy this October, so I haven't really had much time to relax. So I thought, what better way to relax than to get a group of my friends and go for a walk in a farm and have some chainsaws shoved at my genitals for a few hours. Yes, September into October for us theme park enjoyers sees us go from beer to fear as every themed attraction in town puts up some pumpkins and some spooky lighting in exchange for our screams. One of the most well-known standalone Halloween events in the country is Tulleys Farm's Shocktober Fest, as seen on every single station in the London Underground, it seems. On October 14th, myself and a group of my friends went down to a farm just outside of Crawley in order to have our trousers thoroughly browned by clowns, prisoners, and spooky mechanics. Okay, it's way cooler than it sounds. But yes, come along with me as I take you through the terrifyingly twisted and wonderfully wicked world of 2021's edition of Tulleys Shocktoberfest. So first, a little bit of admin work, and I'm going to show how much of YouTube I've learned from Harry here, so just give me a moment. What is Shocktoberfest? The impression could use a little bit of work, but the views will come shortly, I'm told. Shocktoberfest is an annual Halloween scare event run by Tulleys Farm just south of London. During non-spooky times of the year, they're host to a few attractions such as a pick-your-own farm, there's a tea room, and I've heard there's also escape rooms with some wonderful voice acting. I hear the parrot's lovely. As the days get shorter and the weather turns colder, Tulleys Farm turns into something else. Something a lot darker, filled with unsettling backstories and tales told the world over. Talking about Christmas, of course. We just believe that this magical grandfather can break into our house every year. What the fuck's up with that? Okay, enough stalling. Shocktoberfest. From October 1st all the way through to the first weekend of November, Tulleys Farm put on an amazing Halloween attraction that's been running for over 25 years at this point. They play host to 11 haunts and attractions, including mazes, shows, and street theatre, giving it that real nowhere is safe element to the evening. On top of this, there's a few funfair style attractions as well, such as a slingshot, a booster, and a ghost train, and there's also some unconventional attractions such as axe throwing with questionable deals. First thing that I want to note before I get into this is that I went on a Thursday night during term time, which is traditionally a bit of a lower budget night for these scream parks. The staff numbers are usually a little bit lighter, so take that into account A, when you book your visit, and B, when you're reading through my reviews and rankings. Also, I personally didn't have time to go and see Circus of Horrors, but I've heard it's brilliant, so if you have time for that and that's your sort of thing, go for it. So, let's get into some of the haunts then, shall we? I'm going to go through this from my least favourite to my absolute favourite haunt of the night and kind of give a little bit about what they are and why I like them so much. So, without further ado, let's get the show on the road. Number 9, Hellaments. Oh boy, 2 words for you. Hooded maze. Please tell me one good example of a hooded maze, and if you say Vulcan Peak, I swear to God. The best hooded maze I have ever done is Vulcan Voodoo. Not Vulcan Voodoo, what the fuck? No, Vulcan Voodoo's trailers. The best hooded maze I have ever done is Hoodoo Voodoo at Extreme Scream Park, and A, it was only good when you took the hood off, and B, it'd still be bottom of this list. The whole idea behind hooded mazes is to take away one of your primary senses to make it harder for you to discern what's happening. The main issue with that, and stay with me here, I know this isn't entirely obvious, but it's more scary to see the scary thing. If you played peekaboo with a baby and the baby just had their eyes closed the whole time, neither of you are going to get much fun out of that. For all I know, this maze could have been a blindfolded walk around B&Q. Number 8, The Island. Like no other. No. So if you visited in 2019, then this maze was called The Reckoning with Ye Old Pirates. With chainsaws. And now this maze is just incredibly similar, but with a different face. The pirates set sail for elsewhere, and in their place stands a tribe of islanders, shut away from civilization for years. And no, I'm not talking about Silkstone and his mates. There are some really good sets in this thing. A lot of it is quite damp and rotten looking wooden walls with little cracks in them. It gives you that sense of there are always eyes watching you. Unfortunately, on my run, those eyes never really revealed themselves. Yeah, I got very few scares through this thing, and it's quite a long experience. A lot of it was just dawdling around in the group. When the actors were there, they did their part and they were really good, but there were just too few actors on this run for my liking. So yeah, hopefully if you visit on a busier night, then there'll be more actors and it'll be more scary, but for me, on my run, there just wasn't enough payoff for my liking. Number 7, Creepy Cottage. From here on out, all of the haunts are in my good books. They're honestly just really fun attractions. It's just that some are more fun than others. Creepy Cottage is pretty run-the-mill maze theme. Harrowing hosts haunt the happy hobbyist having a hash around the house. Alternatively, spirits shield the shoddy shelter from spaced-out scaredy cats to spook the shit out of their shorts. Thank you. There's some really fun character interactions in this. A lot of the actors are kind of made to make you laugh rather than scare you. So for example, we accidentally said one of our friends' names in front of the actor and they chased us out screaming his name behind us. It's quite a short maze and it's not massively scary, as I said, but it is just a lot of constant fun. There's a good atmosphere through the sets as well. From memory, it all seems quite tight and quite windy, so there's a lot of opportunities for things hidden around corners. But yeah, not massively scary, but just a really fun attraction to go and do. Number 6, Coven of 13. Or Coven. Or, you know what, I don't actually know how to say this word. Coven. Okay, yeah, I was right. Okay, it's Coven. Coven. I feel like a lot of people will think that this ranking's a little bit low for this maze, but I'll be honest, I don't really remember much of it. That sounds like I'm putting it as my fault, but honestly, the maze was just a little bit too nondescript for me. I remember 1 or 2 scenes, but in the overall scheme of things, it just lacks a little bit of detail that some of the other mazes do really well. The scenes that I do remember are really cool. There's some really cool use of light and smoke in this, which gives it kind of that foggy uncertainty. And the use of some confined spaces in this maze, when it is an actor high day, can really produce some good scares. But yeah, if I have to give one criticism about this maze, is that the theme isn't really expanded on and the details in the rooms aren't that massively detailed, but apart from that, it's a really fun experience. Number 5, Haunted Hayride. The only reason why this loses points on this list is because I feel like people would shout at me if I put it any higher. Haunted Hayride is exactly what it sounds like. You sit on the back of a trailer. No, not that one. We'll get to that one next video. You get towed through a studio set, which is Tully's excuse for putting a load of tat in the woods, and my god, it works. One thing to note about screen parks in general is that there's 2 vibes that they can go for. It's either excessively scary or excessively horny. Tulleys does the latter quite a lot, and it is absolutely non-stop within this attraction. There are definitely some downsides to this attraction. For example, if you're really into your massive scares, you won't get any in this one. Another one is that you have to go through these transitional scenes, which are just kind of enclosed off sheds with black flaps over the doors, which kind of kills the flow of the whole attraction. But when you're actually in the scenes themselves, there are guaranteed laughs and a guaranteed good time. Number 4, Twisted Clowns. It's like if the Big Top was sponsored by Skittles. So the whole thing for this maze is that you have to go through it with 3D glasses on. This gives every wall, every prop, and most importantly, every actor a warped sense of depth, which means that you don't actually know how far they really are. Because of this, they have to use a lot of really bright colours and lights in the walls, props, and the costumes of the actors, which just gives it this really weird, unsettling feel. You feel like you're in some sort of haunted kids show. The scares in this aren't huge, it's more just energetic and unsettling, which is something that Tulleys do really well. But the use of colour and lights makes you so disorientated in the best way possible, and it just leaves you so unsure as to what's going to come next. Number 3, Chop Shop. We're getting to the sharp end now. Sharp. Probably the most well-known haunt in this entire event, possibly being overtaken by number 1, he says, being the human embodiment of the wide eyes to the side emoji. Chop Shop is a walk through a spooky garage. I know, you're trembling already. Essentially, it's just an insight into a family business, except that family is entirely comprised of chainsaw-obsessed nut jobs. There is no carefully built story within this thing. A lot of mazes these days will try to do this intricate story that everyone can still understand. Chop Shop does none of that. It's just chaos. If I had to give a couple of criticisms about this maze, is that the second half of it isn't massively detailed. Again, it's kind of just corrugated iron walls, which I know fits the theme, but it would be nice to see something else there. And the other criticism is just with how the maze is laid out. So a lot of the time you'll be walking around a corner and you'll get the same scare that you did about a minute ago. And just with laws of diminishing returns, that gets less scary as you go. But one thing that this maze does extremely well is its use of sound. You will hear the chainsaw off in the distance and the screams of the group being scared by it way before you see the chainsaw yourself, which just gets you so nervous, anticipating the moment that the chainsaw will come, but never really knowing when it's going to happen. And yeah, it's just hard not to be scared of a massive person holding a chainsaw over your head. At number 2, I've put The Cellar. Underrated maze this, I don't hear nearly enough people talking about it. If I had to give one criticism right off the bat, is that the theme is a little bit similar to a couple of others in here. It's a crossover of about 3 different mazes, but honestly, I think it manages to stand out on its own just fine. In essence, you're exploring a cellar where people have been left to rot for years. Left and forgotten down there until they turn into savage, murderous monsters. like you. There's just some really consistently high scares in this thing. It's not necessarily unique, but just something about the design of the maze leads to a lot of scares in a really short period. Some of the rooms kind of do get jumbled a little bit in my head with a few other mazes. I mean, Coven's similar, and Creepy Cottage is similar in a way, and the island as well, but somehow this maze just manages to stand head and shoulders above the rest. It is genuinely tense and rewards that tension that you're feeling with good payoffs, which is just more fun for you. So yeah, the cellar, good, go and do it. And finally, you knew this was coming, didn't you? There's no suspense here, this was an obvious number one for me. Number one, Wastelands Penitentiary. A cacophony of chaos with an hourly show to boot, this is one of my favourite mazes of all time. It's just constant chaos. There is constantly something happening in front of your eyes which makes you fearful of what's next. Hell, even the queue line feels like a maze at times with the strobe lighting and the really loud invasive music going on in there. And that continues into the maze. I use the word invasive for the music because it blocks out any other thoughts than this is chaos. Again, we went on a Thursday night in term time, which is traditionally a low actor night, and it still felt like actors were everywhere and that you were being attacked from every angle. The design of the maze means that actors can really come from anywhere, especially in that big middle scene, which, by the way, is one of the most threatening scenes I've ever been in. But yeah, this maze has a great mix of feeling absolutely overwhelmed by actors while also having really intricate character interactions, and it just adds to that unsettling nervousness that you feel the entire way through. However, once again, that nervousness is paid off. If it's not paid off, it wouldn't be fun. With scare mazes, you have to have that tension and then that release. If it's just tension, it's not going to be fun. If it's just release, it's not going to be satisfying for you. But Wastelands gets a great mix of everything in here. It wasn't a 10 out of 10 run, but it was damn near close. Now, having considered all of that, I'm going to try and answer whether I think Tulleys is worth both the price and the faff. How long have you got? Now, tickets start from upwards of £35, which is a lot of money to spend on one evening. And that's not even considering food, travel there and back, especially if you're on the rail, as well as drinks and any upcharge attractions you might want to do. However, for that price, you are getting 10 outstanding attractions and haunts, and street theatre with some great actors. Shout out to the one dressed as mercenaries with the chainsaws who just attacked my friend whenever I pointed to him. The atmosphere is unmatched compared to any other Scream park I've been to, and some of the mazes are absolutely world class. So if you do have the time and don't mind spending the money, absolutely give it a shot. If you've been to Shocktoberfest either in this year or previous years, let me know in the comments and let me know what you thought of it and what your favourite mazes were. And I'll see you shortly for the next video. This time on Thorpe Park's Fright Nights.